Hey everyone, welcome back to another PT Pearl from the Optimal Body Podcast. I'm Dr. Dom.
I'm Doc Jen.
And today we're going to be talking about posture and what the most optimal posture is for when you're sitting around during the day. Is there one best posture? Why do we tend to hold ourselves in one position? Listen in.
Posture, poor posture, bad posture.
Oh, yeah.
Why is posture bad and does it cause your pain? Let's talk about it because this is one of the most common things that I get via social media, and it can be really confusing, right? Because, well, if I have bad posture, obviously that's going to cause me pain, no?
Yeah, and it should be easy to fix, shouldn't it? There should just be like, oh, your shoulder is rounded. Hold them here instead.
Yeah.
And I feel like people think that we want to simplify posture into this, oh, this is my posture, and this is how I fix it. So our posture is just this single snapshot at any given time of where we're holding ourselves throughout the entire day. It's not one static thing.
Exactly. And we compare posture based on what it should, quote unquote, look like based on an anatomical structure of a skeleton in an anatomy book,
based
whose
on
arms are open, palms forward, shoulders back, neck back, and perfectly still because it's an image. It's not a person.
This way, this exact, with all these exact curves, and that's just not how we move as humans. That's not how we move throughout the world. We're never standing there in anatomical position,
Think about that too, that someone okay, I'm going to look at your posture. All of a sudden, what do you usually do? If someone's like, oh, I'm going to look at your posture.
Yeah.
No, they get up right. Let
true.
me fix it. Let me try to make sure I'm quote unquote right for.
If you're standing there for a test.
Yeah. If someone's looking at you, we're always dynamically moving, even if you can't see the movement. We have a little bit of a sway forward, backwards. We have a little bit of movement within our body. So it's never just static posture. However, it's cool to just look at how someone, if you were to just shake it out and just, stand, what does your body like to do? And that's just it's a cool thing to just start to be familiar with. Where does your body feel safe? That's essentially what static posture is. It's so unnatural to say, oh, you're doing this. So actually stick your belly in a little bit more, tuck your hips over. Oh, not too much. Don't round in your back. But now your upper back is round. So pull your shoulders down and back. Oh, but don't stick the rib cage out. Oh, don't let your head go forward. Oh my goodness, your body is going to feel all of a sudden what the heck is happening? And now I'm completely unsafe. And not only am I unsafe, and this is the thing that gets me every time, is that now I'm going to turn my muscles on and force them to work in a tense position that they're not used to being in order to hold my body in this certain position. You don't want to be thinking of holding your muscles. That only adds tension into your body, which is only going to almost increase that sympathetic tone, that fight, flight, that resistance within the body, which doesn't allow you to ever relax. That is the opposite of trying to get out of pain.
Well, especially if you tell somebody to, hey, squeeze your butt and then and also tighten your core. Are you breathing already?
No.
Right? If you're just like you said, if you're focusing on holding something or if you're focusing on flexing a certain muscle, we're probably not focusing on breathing or not even just breathing naturally and comfortably.
Yes.
And as soon as we are disrupting that normal, comfortable breathing pattern, then we're telling our body danger. So how are we going to promote shift in our safety point, our posture that we're calling this safety point, if we're holding our breath and bearing down and telling our body, this new place that I'm holding my body is not safe? Everybody will say, well, let's go over some of the common things that might develop in somebody's posture that we might call, quote, wrong or bad. We'll see people's heads start to come forward and chin jut out, right? So we get this protrusion of the head.
Forward head posture,
right? What else tends to come along with that?
Rounded shoulders, hunchback.
Right, this rounded shoulder or this hunched upper back, right? And then if we kind of keep going down, then our low back, if we're kind of hunching forward our low back, sometimes we'll see this extension or this increased lordosis, it's called excessive lordosis, that we get in our low back.
Anterior pelvic tilt.
Yeah.
I have really tight hip flexors because it's pulling my back forward and my hips forward.
Totally.
Right.
And even with that, then sometimes some people might get a little bend in their knees or something like that, because if we adjust one segment along the way, if our low back is way in this extension, then we might need to have a little bend in our knees, again, just to stay balanced. If we're still thinking of that plumb line, if our low back goes forward, then our knees might bend to compensate for that or something.
Yeah, or you might stand in hyperextension of the knees.
Yep, or knees might just lock out. Totally.
Yeah. And then so to combat that, what people typically do is hold the belly and pull the shoulder blades back, and then naturally that kind of like pulls the head back, right?
Yeah.
But how unnatural of a position is that? If I'm going to hold my belly in all day because of how it's supposed to look flat or whatever is the idea out there, and then pull my shoulder blades back, I'm getting this jutting out of my lower rib cage, right? Yeah. And if you think of like, everyone always wants to go to my pelvis is falling forward and this is happening. Well, when you pull the shoulder blades back, you actually rotate now through the rib cage. So if you are worried about anterior tilt in your pelvis, well, you're now tilting your rib cage a different way. And what this is going to do is throw off the way that our pressure disperses as we breathe. So if I take a breath in and I'm allowing air to come in, but I'm holding my shoulders like down and back, as I breathe in, all I'm going to do is have my air go straight up to my chest and my neck and straight down to my pelvic floor. So think of prolapse issues, think of urinary incontinence, think of stress incontinence. There, you feel like you jump rope or you run and you have to run to the bathroom. Well, if you're trying to force posture in a way that's not natural for the body, you could be potentially putting extra stress on places that don't need it.
So we need to train it in a way that's going to help to ingrain this new motor pattern.
What's best is to allow your body to come to a natural state on its own. And the way we do that is through more movement. I'm more rounded. What does it feel like to round more, even more, and then extend all the way? And what if I did that more so throughout the day, and that my body naturally then started to understand along this spectrum, where is quote unquote neutral for me? Where is middle?
Because some people will say, oh, I am relaxed in my upper shoulders. And then you say, okay, well, squeeze your upper shoulders up towards your ears as tight as you can for 10 seconds. And then for the last 3 seconds, just think, oh, relax, and relax those as much as you can. And it kind of helps you calibrate almost. I like that, because you're almost helping you like calibrate yourself. Okay, this is where I generally hold my shoulders.
I mean, ultimately, what we're seeing in the literature more and more is that we cannot say that a certain posture or a certain position or even structure is going to automatically lead to pain. Because we know, as we study more bodies, as we study more humans, we can see people that have no pain but have the same image, have the same structure, have the same posture. So why did this person who doesn't have pain but has this quote unquote poor posture, rounded shoulders, hunched back, whatever.
Scoliosis even.
Yeah. How do they not have pain, but I have pain and I feel like I have the worst posture ever? Ultimately, we don't feel pain from a structure. We feel pain because of our brain perceiving pain.
Yeah.
So that doesn't mean that it's all in your head. However, can we allow the brain to feel something different?
So how can we change our environment? And I think a lot of people like to feel like they're helpless to their environment, especially when it comes to work or the things that we're told to do that we might not think are as enjoyable. Like if we need to sit at work and work on a computer or take phone calls, a lot of people see that as I can't get up and moving throughout the day. But when is it that we can at our desk do some movement when we're on a phone call, do some movement when we're on a conference call that we might just be sitting and listening to the majority of? How can we get up for 30 seconds during that and give our brain something different to perceive? Go through that full range of motion of our shoulder blades once every 15 minutes, once every 20 minutes. And then once we start doing that daily, then let's try to tell ourselves that there's nothing that we can do to change how we feel.
How do you set up your desk to be perfect, right? So that you don't feel pain throughout the day. And we bring up different studies and what the studies show. So I do recommend, like, if you do work at a desk job, listen to that ergonomic podcast, because we're going to talk you through some strategies to actually help you reduce pain. Because again, it's not about a single posture. It's even if you set up your desk perfectly right, you can still have pain.
Totally.
Because it's not just about being in one position.
No, and that's the thing, whether it's a desk job or just a job that you spend a lot of time in one area or one position or one workstation, whatever the station's like, there's ways that we can adjust it so that you can give your body a little bit of a different input. If you're doing something repetitively over and over and over again, there's small things we can do to change that input rather than happening 8 hours constantly throughout the day.
Exactly.
We're going to be breaking it up with something slightly different.
I mean, ultimately, there's no one perfect posture. There's no one bad posture. If you're starting to notice, okay, my back is starting to round. Why might that be? Maybe. Are you moving throughout the day? Or are you subject to just sitting and doing?
Is gravity starting to take effect?
Yeah, of course it's going to start to happen. If we're not doing something else and we're only doing one thing, your body's going to start to feel safer in that one thing.
Yeah. And this is also where people will talk about getting adjustments or using braces or using even like some of those core binders to help give them a little bit more core feedback and support throughout the day, right? Is that what's going to help my posture? Is that going to help fix me? Is it something that you were doing actively and doing consistently over a long period of time? If not, it's probably not going to result in you creating long-term shift.
What we do on you with our hands is not going to create a mechanical change. Not.
No.
But if we're using someone to passively do something on us and expecting to create a change in the way that we stand and feel and move throughout the day, it's not going to be the thing.
Or similarly, a core binder. If you're looking for some sort of corset binder and say the first time you put it on, you feel a miraculous difference. Great. If that's going to help you make it through a day of work and not have the pain that you've had every day or whatever it is, amazing. Use that thing. If that then means you take it off every hour and you lay on your back and do some different core priming exercises with some breaths to get that core pumping and working with your pelvic floor and diaphragm, and then we get back up, we put that core binder on and we imagine to ourselves, all right, let's hold a little bit more of that tension and go throughout our day and use that as kind of a plan to wean off of using a core brace. That's how something like that works into the plan, not just putting it on passively and expecting it to give us all the support we will ever need.
Or like the brace around the shoulders, right? You use those straps around the shoulders that kind of pulls the shoulders back.
Pull me back. And
literally, if we're doing something to passively work it on its own, how are we ever going to expect that actively it's going to create a change? Can passive stretching create a difference over time? Yeah, it can. However, if now we're not taking that and activating the muscles, then your body's going to have no idea of how to hold yourself there, and it's going to revert back to where it feels safe. You can change your dynamic posture on your own based on movement and movement alone. So ultimately, how do you improve your posture? Well, it's a never-ending journey of exploration and continued movement. It never ends.
Set an alarm every hour or every half an hour on your phone. It could be silent. It could just be so it buzzes in your pocket. And then every half an hour, you're going to get something that buzzes. That's almost your reminder to, okay, how am I moving? How am I positioning myself? Take a deep breath, kind of shake yourself out, move in the opposite direction than you may have just been sitting or working, and get back to work. It can be like a 2-second check. I promise after 3 or 4 weeks of these alarms going off every half an hour, it's going to start to ingrain this little reminder to yourself, like, okay, maybe I can just do it every hour or every 2 hours now.
the best posture is? It's the next
It's
one.
the next one. So get up and move now that you've been listening for this for a while.
Exactly. Like if you feel like you've been sitting up and your body is like feeling a little tense, then round it. It's not a bad thing. Rotate it.
If you're sitting in the car, take some like good rotations next time you're at a stop sign or at a stoplight. Like get that back rotating. It can make a world of difference.
Thanks for joining us on another episode. I hope you learned a lot about posture. If there was something particularly that you found interesting, or you found like, oh, I'm going to add this into my life, or you're just surprised on what really the best posture is, comment below. Let us know. We want to hear from you. We also want to hear what you want to learn in the future. So subscribe and ask us questions.